If you're assigning fault, is that Donald Trump's fault, or is it the fault of these news organizations who I mean, for instance, Fox did not air your speech?
Yeah. His generation found the courage to face down armies. Listen, all we're asked to do is to summon the courage to stand up to one weak man. When there was no time for politics, the people closest to Trump told him the truth. It was his supporters attacking the Capitol, and he alone could get through to them. We took an oath to one thing, the Constitution, and there is no way you can tell me that enabling January 6th and post that enabling Donald Trump, there's no way you can tell me that didn't violate an oath to the Constitution.
Did you see Trump's meltdown after Kimmel and Kinzinger mocked his marriage? The former president completely lost it, proving exactly what Kinzinger said about him being a professional whiner and bellyacher who can't handle criticism. But here's what you might have missed. This wasn't just about jokes. This TV appearance revealed the deep divisions in the Republican Party that could change everything in 2024. In this video, I'll show you the hidden messages in this comedy segment that explain why Trump's reaction matters way more than you might think. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel.
Because this is what they have taken. Everything they do is built on this idea that Donald Trump's going to save America. So the vitriol is crazy. What did shock me a little bit, but also the whiniest, weakest. I mean, my God, the guy was president of the United States, and somehow the inept Democratic Party was able to pull over on him.
Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Did you know that Adam Kinzinger was once considered a rising GOP star? Yeah, that same guy who now makes Trump's blood pressure spike like a teenager who just discovered energy drinks. Before becoming Trump's worst nightmare, Kinzinger was actually a pretty standard Republican, a military veteran with Midwestern values who mostly played by the party rulebook. The transformation of Kinzinger from loyal Republican to Trump's biggest critic is like watching someone slowly realize they've joined a cult. At first, he went along with Trump's agenda, voting with him on plenty of occasions and representing that old school conservative wing of the party. You know, the kind that cared about things like balanced budgets instead of weird conspiracy theories about Italian satellites changing votes. But then came the 2020 election, and Trump's reaction to losing turned Kinzinger from team player to team get this guy away from our party. It's like Kinzinger was at a normal Republican BBQ, and suddenly everyone started putting tinfoil hats on their heads and talking about how the grill was secretly controlled by Venezuela. His appearance on Jimmy Kimmel wasn't just about getting some laughs, it was a smart political move. By skipping Fox News and heading straight to Kimmel, Kinzinger basically said, "I'm done talking to the choir. I want to reach Americans who aren't already drinking the Trump Kool-Aid." That's what makes his criticism so dangerous to Trump. It's reaching people who might actually be persuadable. And boy, did Kinzinger come armed with some brutal takedowns. He called Trump a weak man pretending to be strong, a small man pretending to be big, a faithless man pretending to be righteous, and a perpetrator who can't stop playing the victim. That's not just throwing shade, that's blocking out the sun entirely. These weren't random insults either.
More disappointing things to me is just coming to understand that some people have no red line that they aren't willing to cross, particularly when it comes to Donald Trump. Look, that's the elephant in the room. But if January 6th has reminded us of anything, I pray it has reminded us of this. Laws are just words on paper.
They were surgical strikes aimed right at the image Trump has spent decades building. What's fascinating is that Kinzinger represents a small but increasingly vocal faction of Republicans who are basically saying, "We'd like our party back from the orange hostage taker, please." They're the political equivalent of that friend who's the only sober one at the party, trying to convince everyone else they've had enough and it's time to go home. One of the most revealing things Kinzinger shared was that Trump actually believes he never lost the election. This isn't just an act for the cameras. Trump is genuinely living in his own reality show where he's still the winner. This fantasy is like a political fault line running right through the GOP, with half the party building homes on this shaky ground. But the truly shocking reveal came when Kinzinger discussed January 6th. While Trump supporters were smashing windows, assaulting police officers, and hunting for members of Congress, what was the big man doing? According to Kinzinger, Trump didn't do anything but gleefully watch television as the Capitol was under attack. So much for that whole, "I'll be right there with you" promise to his supporters. Trump was about as involved in the fighting as I am in professional basketball, which is to say, purely as a spectator from my couch. This is the kind of revelation that doesn't just hurt Trump politically, it pierces the hero worship that his most devoted fans have for him. It's one thing to be a tough-talking fighter. It's another to sit back with snacks while your supporters risk jail time for you. While Trump was busy nursing his wounds from Kinzinger's truth bombs, Jimmy Kimmel was sharpening his comedic daggers for another night of political skewering. What makes Kimmel's approach so effective isn't just that he's funny, it's that his jokes come wrapped in a layer of accessibility that political analysts just can't match. Remember when late-night hosts used to avoid politics like a drunk uncle at Thanksgiving? Kimmel was right there with them, sticking to celebrity interviews and silly skits. But as Trump rose to power, something changed in Kimmel's approach. He transformed from just another funny guy to a comedian with a mission, turning Trump's daily chaos into nightly punchlines that actually packed a punch. The genius of Kimmel's strategy is his audience. While CNN and MSNBC preach to their political choirs, Kimmel reaches millions who might change the channel when they see a politician's face. These viewers might not sit through a detailed analysis of Trump's policies, but they'll happily watch Kimmel tear into Trump's weird obsession with crowd sizes or his strange orange glow. It's political commentary in disguise, and Trump knows it.
Donald Trump is a weak man pretending to be strong. He's built a cult. He's really built a cult of personality. And when you go after the leader of a cult, it's almost like going after somebody's religion.
What's your problem with windmills, Don? Did one of them mess up your hair? That's classic Kimmel, taking Trump's bizarre fixations, like his vendetta against wind energy, and turning them into punchlines that expose the absurdity beneath. Or his ongoing bit about fake news, where he'll say something like, "Trump called the media fake news again today," right after claiming he invented the hamburger. Kimmel doesn't just make jokes, he weaponizes humor to highlight how ridiculous some of Trump's claims really are. But it's when Kimmel goes after Trump's marriage that the former president really loses it. Kimmel has a talent for finding the most uncomfortable truths and serving them with a smile. He'll show clips of Melania seemingly avoiding Trump's hand in public, then quip, "Looks like someone's sleeping in the Lincoln bedroom tonight, alone." These jokes hit differently because underneath the laughter, viewers are thinking, "Yeah, I noticed that too. The truth hurts." But the truth wrapped in a joke is practically nuclear. Every night, Kimmel distills the day's Trump chaos into tight 5-minute segments that get millions of views on YouTube. And Trump notices. While claiming not to watch, Trump has fired off tweets, now Truth Social posts at bizarre hours, suggesting he's up late stewing over Kimmel's latest roast. Each angry response only proves what Kinzinger said about Trump being thin-skinned and unable to handle criticism. The jokes that really set Trump off were Kimmel's ongoing commentary about Melania's apparent reluctance to hold Trump's hand in public. Even his wife doesn't want to touch him, Kimmel once quipped after showing footage of Melania subtly pulling away. Another time, Kimmel deadpanned, "Nothing says 'I love my husband' like slapping his hand away on international television." These bits struck a nerve because they undermined the image Trump works so hard to project, that of a strong man who commands respect even from his own wife. When Kimmel hosted Kinzinger and the two of them discussed Trump's marriage, it was comedy kryptonite for the former president. Kimmel asked if Melania ever smiled around Trump, and Kinzinger's knowing laughter said more than any direct answer could. Kimmel followed up with, "I don't think I've seen them laugh together, ever. Has anyone?" The audience roared, but Trump certainly wasn't laughing. The most devastating Kimmel jokes about Trump's marriage often focused on the apparent transactional nature of the relationship. She married him for his personality. Obviously, Kimmel would deadpan after showing Melania looking miserable at a public event. Or he'd show Trump walking ahead of Melania and quip, "That's the face of a woman wondering if becoming first lady was worth the prenup she signed."
We took an oath to one thing, the Constitution, and there is no way you can tell me that enabling January 6th and post that enabling Donald Trump, there's no way you can tell me that didn't violate an oath to the Constitution. Everything about him is almost non-human. Like, honestly, if they saw him sitting on the toilet, it would shatter their image of him. I don't.
Did you see the Eclipse ad they did of him, where like Donald Trump is blocking the sun? It is so weird.
When those Kimmel marriage jokes hit the airwaves, Trump didn't just get mad. He transformed into exactly what Kinzinger predicted: a walking, talking victim card. Trump's social media accounts lit up faster than a Christmas tree as he fired off angry posts that perfectly validated every criticism lobbed his way. It's the political equivalent of someone yelling, "I am not angry," while throwing a chair through a window. Trump's immediate meltdown revealed the fascinating paradox at the heart of his political identity. Here's a man who constantly portrays himself as the toughest guy in the room, yet he crumbles like a stale cookie when anyone dares to make a joke at his expense. His tough guy image is exactly that, just an image, a carefully constructed facade that shatters at the slightest tap. The language in Trump's responses is particularly telling. Rather than laughing off the jokes or ignoring them, he immediately positioned himself as the unfairly targeted victim. This victim narrative isn't just a reflex, it's a calculated strategy. When Trump cries victim, he's not showing weakness to his base. He's activating their protective instincts and reinforcing tribal bonds. It's political judo, turning what appears to be vulnerability into one of his greatest strengths. Remember Kinzinger's December prediction that Trump would spend the entire year being a massive complaining, belly aching, whining, weak, soft, annoying, incredibly sheepish victim. Well, Trump wasted no time proving him right. It's almost as if Trump received that criticism and thought, challenge accepted. His inability to take a joke without nuclear retaliation serves as Exhibit A in Kinzinger's assessment of Trump as fundamentally weak beneath the bluster. The most fascinating aspect of Trump's victim routine is how effectively it works. When he howls about unfair treatment, his supporters don't see a thin-skinned narcissist. They see themselves. Every attack on Trump becomes, by extension, an attack on them and their values. This creates a perpetual fundraising machine where criticism equals cash. Someone makes fun of Trump, Trump cries victim, supporters open their wallets, rinse and repeat.
There's something about my party too. Something I couldn't ignore. The Republican Party is no longer conservative. When there was no time for politics, the people closest to Trump told him the truth. It was his supporters attacking the Capitol, and he alone could get through to them.
Marriage jokes seem to trigger Trump with particular intensity because they strike at the foundation of his carefully constructed strongman image. The traditional masculine archetype Trump tries to embody includes having a beautiful, adoring wife who gazes at him with admiration. When comedians highlight the apparent coldness in his marriage, they're not just mocking his relationship, they're undermining the entire persona he's built his political brand upon. What makes this all so juicy is how Trump's volcanic reactions to marriage jokes only make the original criticisms seem more credible. If there was nothing to the observations about his seemingly distant relationship with Melania, wouldn't the appropriate response be to laugh it off? His inability to do so tells us more than any leaked insider story ever could. The Trump-Kinzinger-Kimmel triangle represents the broader civil war raging within the Republican Party. On one side, you have traditional conservatives like Kinzinger who prioritize policy principles and institutional norms. On the other, you have Trump and his personality cult, where loyalty to the man himself trumps any traditional conservative value. This dynamic is setting the stage for a crucial battle over the soul of the party heading into 2024. When Trump lashes out at critics like Kimmel and Kinzinger, he's not just defending his ego, he's fighting to maintain control of the Republican narrative.
If you're assigning fault, is that Donald Trump's fault, or is it the fault of these news organizations who I mean, for instance, Fox did not air your speech?
Yeah. His generation found the courage to face down armies. Listen, all we're asked to do is to summon the courage to stand up to one weak man.
Each criticism chips away at his authority and emboldens other dissenting voices within the party. That's why these seemingly trivial comedy segments matter. They're not just entertainment, they're political tools that shape public perception and potentially influence party direction. What we've witnessed with the Kimmel-Kinzinger alliance isn't just entertaining television, it's a blueprint for fighting authoritarianism with humor. Comedy cuts through defenses that serious political arguments arguments can't penetrate, exposing Trump's fragility without complicated policy debates. The Republican identity crisis playing out before us shows two possible futures: a return to principle-based conservatism or continued devotion to a single personality. Trump's defensive reactions only validate Kinzinger's assessment. As 2024 approaches, expect more Republican truth-tellers to seek mainstream platforms, knowing their criticisms gain credibility with each angry Trump response. His predictable outbursts will simultaneously energize his base while pushing moderates further away, a political catch-22 of his own making.